Hello and welcome to another episode of Radio Yes Cymru with me, Sean Jobbins, and my guest tonight is Sam Murphy. Yes, Radio Yes Cymru on your favourite podcast apps and also on the Yes Cymru YouTube channel, so you can follow us, view us, and listen to us wherever you are. Sam, we're going to be talking about a great event coming up in Swansea. You can tell me the details. It's called Knowing Wales Nabod Cymru. This is the third one. There was one down in Merthyr about 6 months ago, up in Blaenau Ffestiniog a couple of months ago. But now we've got one kicking off in Swansea. So Sam Murphy, people remember maybe he gave us a chat about the rally in Swansea a few years ago. He's back with us in the plush Radio Yes Cymru studios. Guessing it's Sam's living room, really. But Sam, tell us about Nabod Cymru or Knowing Wales and what's going on and when it is.
Okay. Yes Cymru, over the last year or so, as you've alluded to, doing an event known as Nabod Cymru. The idea is we do a weekend of events in a particular location around Wales and getting to know something about that town, but it's also a good opportunity to get a lot of our activists and supporters together and really have a good time. So we did one last year, we did two last year, as you just said, one in Merthyr, one in Blaenau Ffestiniog, and now to start the year, or the first one of this year is going to be here in Swansea, Abertawe, on Friday the 28th of March and Saturday the 29th of March. We're going to have carry on, John.
So it's the basic, as you said, the idea is to get something a little smaller than the rally. Of course, the rally will be a month later in Barry. We'll have a Radio Yes Cymru chat about that as well in the future. But the idea with the Nabod Cymru and Knowing Wales is there's a chance for local activists to get together, but people to come over to Swansea in this case, learn a bit more about history, about what the city itself, and some music. So 28th and 29th of March, as you said. Whereabouts in Swansea then?
So there's a few various locations. They're all based around the centre of town. The first location on the Friday night will be the Copper Bar in Swansea, which is right next to Swansea Castle, if you know it.
Yep.
And we're going to have, starting at 8 o'clock on the Friday evening, we're going to have a couple of bands. So we're going to have one band, which is a bluegrass band made of members of Yes Abertawe. And then following them, we will be having a band called Omnicron with an electronic set. So something a little bit different than you might expect. So we're going to have those two bands and entertain our activists, and they can have a good night in the Copper Bar, which is owned by the Mumbles Brewery. They serve some nice local beers, and then you can have a good night out, and you can go back home or go to your hotel if you're staying in Swansea over the weekend, and we can start the Saturday's activities as well then.
That's it. So the informal and the formal. So the event then on Saturday, they're talking about the activities there. What do you have in mind for that?
So we've got a full day of activities on the Saturday. As has been done at the previous Nabod Cymru events, we're all going to meet for breakfast. So the meeting place for breakfast is Jack's Kitchen on High Street. We're going to meet there at 9 o'clock. Then from 10:30, we're going to have some walks around the town, some guided walks, which they've done in the previous Nabod Cymru's as well. I went to the one in Merthyr, and we walked in the footsteps of the Merthyr Rising, and we had a local historian guide us through that, and that was really interesting. So we wanted to do something similar for Abertawe. We've actually got two choices for our guests. We've got a former chair of the branch, Rose Davis, is going to lead people on a walk around the parts of Swansea that you might not visit as a tourist. And it's going to be called Weird Swansea.
You said that, Sam, not me.
Well, I've been told by some other people that they said isn't all of it weird Swansea.
You took the words out of my mouth.
I'll leave that to the rest of you to judge. Yeah. I'm Swansea born and bred, lived here my whole life. I've got no other point of reference. So that's one of our options. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to Rose leading us on that. She's done that before for Crisis, which is a homeless charity in Swansea as well.
Right, okay.
And then we have our other option is being led by Robin Campbell and John Ball. and they will be leading us on a tour of what we call historic Swansea. They'll be taking us around some local landmarks and telling us how they fit into the history of Swansea and perhaps Wales as well.
That's it. And John has been on Radio YesCymru podcast a few years ago now, talking about the economy and the viability of an independent Wales. Basically, yes, we can pay for ourselves. That's not the issue. It depends. It's a political will, really. So that'll be an interesting chat. I know John's always a good speaker as well. So that's in the morning from 10:30 until, I guess, what, 12-ish, is it?
Just right, yeah. So they will be leading us around town, and they will be delivering our attendees to the locations for the next activity. Most of the activities from that point on in the day will take place at the Railman's Club on Wine Street in Swansea.
Right, okay.
And we have the hall booked out, the back hall booked out there to host the rest of our events, which we'll get to right now. But we may have an event in a slightly different location, which we will have guides to lead you to. And that will be training for activists on things like nation builder and social media, things like that. So just for the local YesCymru or the not local, or maybe perhaps people who are coming from elsewhere, they can have a little training session with some of our officers, our IT officer and our communications officer, to just help them learn a bit about that might help them when they go back and try to do some activism in their own branch.
That's fun. Yeah, so that's really good practical stuff. So I always like guided tours. That both sound excellent. And then the practical side is so important for activists if they're coming over just to get and ask some questions, and this is so important. That's very good, important work done by YesCymru Century. So then lunch or dinner is in the railway. That was it?
Yes. Well, actually before that then. So we'll have our little training session. 1 p.m. We're back to John Ball. And John will be doing his doing a speech or a talk on the economy and the economics of independence, followed by Q&A. And at that point, then at 2 o'clock, we will have another break. Then, following that break, there's plenty more to come.
It's a full day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a very full day. It goes on till we've got the right up until closing then of the Railman's Club. So to carry on through the itinerary, after a break at 2 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, we'll be having a panel session.
Yeah.
The panel discussion then will be who are we and why do we support independence? And we have some great guests on that. We have it being hosted by Alan Rhys-Chivers of Golwg TX14.
Yep.
Our guest.
And Alan has organised, he was very busy a few years ago organising Stand Up for Wales comedy circuit, which is fab idea. So we actually, if Alan has the time, or whoever, it'd be great to revive some of those. There's a great tactile, cutchy type of way of getting the message over with the comedy. So Alan at 3 o'clock is saying, that sounds an interesting panel as well. So basically people talking about their journey to independence, why they supported. I'm assuming some people from sort of different backgrounds as well to show the breadth of the movement.
Yes. So the three guests we have lined up to be on the panel are Ciara Marshall, who has also appeared on Radio YesCymru before. She is the
Swansea girl.
Indeed, yes. She's from Town Hill, a nice working class area, which I think is something that's really important for YesCymru to focus on over the next year or so.
Ciara also stood for Plaid in Cardiff West, where she did very well from Plaid's point of view. So that she's a good, and she's been on Radio YesCymru a couple of months ago as well.
Yeah, and I think she's the current lead of economic policy for the Plaid Cymru Senedd group as well. So again, being able to answer some of those economic questions, which we know, Sean, we get asked all the time.
Yes,
what are the finances? Show me the balance sheet. How is Wales going to be when it's independent? Well, these are the people who might, John Ball and Ciara Marshall, who might be able to answer that question for you. We know that yes, absolutely, Wales can afford to be independent, but those are the guys I think who will give you some meat on the bones of that argument. We've also got Chris Evans from the Green Party in Swansea. And Chris is a really important person because we've had this fantastic campaign about devolving the Crown Estate.
Yes.
And Chris was the person who put the proposal to Swansea Council.
Oh,
He was
see,
the
right.
councillor who put the proposal to Swansea Council as a Green Party councillor.
Yeah.
And Swansea Council passed that. And I think Swansea was also the first council in Wales to pass that. And I think, if I'm correct, we're now up to 12 out of the 22
Yeah, it's actually
councils
a stonking
passed that
campaign, and a
motion.
big shout out to all the Yes Cymru people working on that, and also Siarter Cymru, so a group of people down in Pembrokeshire have been working on housing for
Siarter
Welsh
Cartrefi.
people. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, excellent. The work.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed. I've been
Yes.
looking at the work that some of the guys are doing in our various WhatsApp groups that we have for Yes
Yeah.
Cymru. And the way this campaign has gathered momentum
Yes.
has really been something to see.
And
as you say, Sean,
pulled in people across. I was talking to someone in Ceredigion, I think one of the Plaid councillors who actually put it forward in Ceredigion. He said, a lot of independent councillors here, a lot of Lib Dems. So it wasn't even a foregone conclusion. Maybe for people like us who have been part of this debate for years now, it's like an obvious thing to support. For a lot of people, though, it's still quite new. People don't understand. We had a little, I helped organise a little pop-up rally, Plaid Cymru here in Aberystwyth support devolving Crown Estate. And as I was leafleting around Pen Park here, I remember thinking, well, people don't understand what Crown Estate is. Devolve is a cold word. So once people get it, they get it. But I mean, there's still a lot of work there just to explain to people what's going on, and the rip-off and the asset stripping which is going on.
Absolutely. And there's also, some people in other counties that think perhaps, we don't have any Crown Estate land in our area, but there's something to be argued for, that this could actually benefit the whole of Wales if we could start to use it to develop national wealth. That could really benefit us once again, as it always does, Sean, comes back to that economic question once again.
Yes.
But so Chris is our representative from the Green Party, who themselves officially support independence, and he was the first councillor to put that forward. So I thought that was an excellent person to have come and speak with us. And our last guest on the panel is Sharon Rose Taylor, and she is a member of Yes Abertawe. She's got a lot of political experience. She's actually a Canadian immigrant, and she's come to live in Swansea. And she's been here for a number of years now, and she supports Welsh independence. And I think she's worked for a time back in Canada as a political activist there, as a speechwriter as well. So I think she's going to have a really interesting point of view on what it's like for immigrants to come to Swansea or Wales, and why do they support independence as well? Because some people think it's just a matter of people who are natives to Wales. Perhaps even people who are only Welsh speakers.
I know.
So,
I mean, and that's good, because I mean, to some extent, I've been following the events in Canada, and I think we're all Canadians now. It's basically, and I'm not, Starmer is not Trump in any way, so I'm not making that comparison. But I think it is a comparison, being a country next to a very big country where you go abroad, you've got to put the old lapel badge with your red dragon flag, and they put a little maple leaf flag, and you draw a little map and stuff. So my experience, I think, the same with New Zealanders. I think it's a similar situation where there's a lot of explaining, and you're telling people, no, we're actually not, English with the people next door, So I think maybe for the Canadians, that does sort of get the cogs going in a way maybe it wouldn't for people from other backgrounds. But that sounds very interesting, and a good panel there, Sam, because I mean, you've got the different types of people coming from different perspectives to independence and sharing a lot of experience there as well. So that's such an important discussion. Sounds really interesting.
So I'm really looking forward to that, as amongst other things. So again, after that, we will have another break. And then we will be, Robin Campbell, who will have hosted one of the walks earlier as well, has also been a guest on this programme, along with myself, when we promoted the Swansea March. And he will be doing a talk on the ferry disaster in Swansea, which happened in 1839.
Right, thanks, God. I thought that this is something I haven't recently, and I hadn't heard of. Right. So what was that? I don't know about this, Sam. What was this ferry disaster?
Well, Robin will tell you a lot more. He's an expert on this, and I'm going to make a very ham-fisted attempt at it. But
Okay.
yeah, it goes back, and what it was there was the racing day, and Robin will bring this into his walk as well. Races used to be a popular activity in Swansea back in those days, but to get to the races, a lot of the working class people had to actually cross the river on a ferry boat.
I see that again.
And the owners of the ferry boat and the operators of the ferry boat actually, I'm not sure whether it was actually some sort of raft even in those days as well. But they didn't invest as they should have done in making it as safe as possible. And unfortunately, some people lost their lives being swept away into that into the river on that day due to bad weather and other things.
So when people whinge about red tape and health and safety gone mad, there's a reason we have red tape and health and safety is to keep people alive. And if it's not there, the rich will always be fine, Sam, because they'll always pay for the best service. But it's there to support people who are not very rich. That's exactly why we have laws and why we have some red tape and some health and safety laws. That sounds interesting. So basically, bringing a bit of
Robin, I mean, it's germane to independence as well.
Yeah.
So it was, I believe, one of the operators or one of the owners was the Duke of Beaufort, which some people in Swansea are still paying rent to for various pieces of land.
Like the Swansea Marquis of Beaufort.
Again, come along and listen to Robin's talk on that, and he's going to it's not just going to be a talk. He's going to have it dramatized, or intends to have it dramatized, and bring in some actors to actually play out some of the scenes. So he's going to do it in a really engaging way, I think, and it's going to tell you a little bit about how independence might benefit us and how it has been a disbenefit to us in the past as well.
That's fab. So we're now on to about tea time.
Yeah, so we've got to about 6 o'clock. Robin's talk should finish at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
We'll have another break for roughly an hour, and then we will get to our headline act for the evening, and we are going to have some comedy from Noel James.
Fab. Swansea Valley boy, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Pontardawe, I think.
Yeah, Pontardawe, doesn't he? Yeah, so I mean, and Noel, he's done stuff in Welsh. He was also on a UK network program, wasn't he? I forget the name.
Yeah, it's Britain's Got Talent.
That's the one, yeah. So I mean, so people may be familiar with him there. So I saw him did a gig years ago at the National Library when I was working there. It was like a very short notice kind of gig, just as a warm up to try out some new stuff. So he'd be worth seeing, and it's great to have someone local as well. I presume there'll be a lot of taking the Mickey out of people from Cardiff and that. So maybe for Cardiff people, adopt a Swansea accent for the day. I don't know. I'm not saying. I don't know what the jokes will be. Oh, fab! It's nice to have a bit of fun as well, isn't it?
And that's the point of the day as well. Like you said it's some sweet, some savoury. So you can come. We can have some deep talks about the economy of independent Wales, about the history of how things have gone against us. But then we can also have a bit of fun. We can celebrate our culture, our comedy, and our music together as well.
Fab. And then is that Noah's gig? Then is the last part of the session in the day? Is it?
Well, that'll finish. We'll leave it up to Noel, to be honest, to run his set as he prefers. But we're looking at probably about 9 o'clock finish, maybe 8:30. And then for the rest of the evening, we're just going to if you've got any musical instruments and you want to bring them along, you can get them out, and we can all have a sing song and a play along to some well-known tunes together.
And where will that be? Just to remind ourselves, the last session.
Again, from about 1 o'clock onwards, everything is going to be in the Railman's Club on Wine Street in Swansea.
Yeah. So Wine Street, people remember when the rally was in Swansea, basically started in Wine Street as the main drag in town, isn't it? So, I mean, everyone in Swansea, everyone in West Glam knows where Wine Street. There's no problem with that.
So it's right at the bottom of the road. The road's vaguely on a hill.
Yeah.
People who are from the valleys will not call it a hill, but it's right. It's at the bottom of that hill.
So, cost and Sam, is it like a day ticket, or just pay the door, stuff free, or how does it work with that?
No, so it's free to all to come along. We just want you to come along and enjoy socializing with us, enjoy learning about independence. It's an opportunity for us all to give together. We will have some bucket collections and things like that. If you'd like to make a donation, we'd be glad to have it to go towards our performers, our speakers, and future events. But if you just come and
so the message is come as you are. It's a warm welcome for you. If you can chuck in a few pounds during the day, that'd be fab because it does help with everything. But essentially, we just got to is a fab event. Food for the brain and a lot of laughs and fun as well. Is there anything on Sunday, or it's just on the Saturday that it finishes?
No,
Is it?
just the Friday and
That's
Saturday.
fine. That's it.
So
So
actually,
people are about.
Sunday is Mothering Sunday.
Is it all right? Okay.
So
Thanks for reminding me.
that can that can be a little bookmark in your diaries for that. Then it'll help you remember Nabod Cymru. It'll help you remember Mother's Day as well.
So if people are looking for more information, Sam, is it up on a website, on the YesCymru website, or is there anything dedicated for it?
Well, hopefully by the time this program has gone out, or if not shortly after, you will be having emails from YesCymru Central and Yes Abertawe informing you. Some things have gone out on social media, just advertising that there will be an event. But the details
come over, isn't it? Because it sounds absolutely fab weekend. Lovely way to meet people. And as you know, people can pop in just for the morning, afternoon, depends if they got kids or they're busy or something. You don't have to go for the full day. But it sounds such a varied event, and I know the Swansea people are always very friendly people, and it's always a pleasure being down there. I think you'll have a good time whatever happens, and just meeting different people from YesCymru and maybe people new to YesCymru as well. I was just going to ask you, Sam. We sort of finish off with this. I mean, the rally was in Swansea. Was it 2 years ago? I forget now. I mean,
yes, 2023.
It was, and that was a big effort. Leafleting, getting stuff out, working with the council, working with the police, and everything worked like a clock, like clockwork. I mean, after that, I presume a lot of people locally were quite tired and they needed a break, understandably. But how are things down with the sort of the YesCymru movement down in Swansea way now?
Well, we had to be honest, quite a quiet year, as I think happened with a lot of YesCymru branches last year for various reasons. But we're looking forward to being right back up and running this year. We've got this event Nabod Cymru going on. We'll also be at Tawe, which is there's a festival which is in June. So we'll have a presence there. We'll have a stall there. We'll be helping us out with the Barry March. We'll be doing some leafleting and things like that, around Swansea and in Barry to help out.
Oh, good, excellent.
With that. We've got the Earth Steadford. I was waiting. Which is just on our doorstep. So that's in May. We'll be helping out with that. There's lots to do. We've got lots to look forward to in Yes Abertawe, and we're looking to do maybe a couple more of these. Not quite as extensive as Nabod Cymru, but as Nabod Cymru, pardon me. But maybe we'll be having a band or a discussion on a couple of points during the year as well. So I think we're really ready to let the wheels hit the road this year. Yeah,
and I think Swansea obviously is such an important place. There's a second biggest city, obviously, and it's a big catchment area. You're basically pulling in, well, essentially Llanelli, Carmarthen, the Tawe Valley up to Ammanford, Bridgend, almost as far as Bridgend. So there's a lot of people living around there. So having stuff on in Swansea is so important, I think. And it's the civic and the urban side of Welshness, which sometimes sort of gets, I don't know, forgotten. But people tend to talk about the countryside and the old coal mining areas, but we need to think also about our cities, because those are so important. And in a way, the cities are still drawing in young people in a way which other parts maybe are not. So it's so important to have that. I don't know, I mean, the politics at the moment is so volatile, isn't it? What's happening in America with Trump was just going, I mean, I generally wouldn't be surprised if there's no United States of America in 2040. I mean, things that could really go to control there. From my point of view, the good news is Europe at last is getting its act together, forced to by Trump, hopefully sort itself out with Ukraine. I mean, almost the argument for independent Wales in the European Union or EFTA, and YesCymru is neutral. The mechanics of that is almost becoming, to me, self-evident, isn't it? I mean, we've seen with Trump that the UK isn't big enough, really. The UK can be absolutely steamrolled by Trump if he decides. Starmer knows that. Well, that's why he's been trying to be a bit quiet in that. But Trump knows he can't steamroll the EU if the EU is united. And, I think the argument there for Wales being, from my point of view, and again, this is my personal point of view, it's so obvious. In a way, the UK isn't quite big enough, nor quite small enough, whereas an independent Wales within the EU or the EFTA at least would make perfect sense to me. It gives us that element of defence and cooperation, but also respecting our own national identity. I don't know. It could be very interesting times. I got a feeling things could develop quite quickly, but we need to get our people together. Sam, as what you're doing in Swansea, getting the arguments together, getting people together to have those conversations. I don't know, what's your feeling about that type of thing? We're going on tangent here, listeners, but it's something which has been on my mind in any case.
Oh, no, I mean, I think you've hit on a few really interesting points there, and I think if you're talking about someone like Trump and the way he's trying to strong arm various different countries, and a lot of them in ways that perhaps might not be a benefit to Wales. So it might benefit Wales to have that sort of agility to be able to adapt to situations, to be able to focus on some of the resources that we have available as well. That will be a massive thing. Which for years and years and years we've gone through it. Westminster is not interested in helping us develop certain industries, where it's not helping us monetize our water for ourselves, electricity for ourselves, green energy for ourselves. And I don't think these are things that either Starmer or Trump are interested in helping us out with at the time. So to be able to do that and to be able to enter into agreements with other nations who would be willing to help us work in that way would be really beneficial.
Yeah, I did have a wry smile when we had people talking about Trump wanting to take over Greenland for its national assets and natural assets. And then I was seeing Welsh Labour people in Wales saying this. I was thinking, okay, as I said, Starmer is not Trump, but they're literally stopping us having control of Crown Estate and water and these basic things. And, there was an irony klaxon going off in my mind when people are talking about, people taking over Greenland for its natural assets and not allowing people to do what they want. But I think there's a lesson there for a small country that has agility and obviously has control of its own natural assets and economy. But I think an argument for being part of in a larger body, something like the European Union, to me, it's the best of both worlds. And I think that kind of argument is going to go that way. I don't know. I think there's been a lot of concern about reform as well, and I was quite, but I don't. I think maybe it's peaked now, and I think the seriousness of the issue around Putin and Trump is sort of forcing people to sort of maybe start taking serious view of what actually is going on. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, when you talk about reform, I mean, this is something that's really important. Again, as YesCymru, we're not party political per se, but what I think is really important about reform is that certain types of people, particularly people in South Wales, if you look at the map of South Wales from the last general election and look at the party that finished second, all the way from Llanelli across the south coast all the way to Newport, Reform came second in nearly all of those constituencies. And I think what that tells you is that people are looking for some sort of alternative, and this is the line they are saying. They are portraying themselves as the alternative to Westminster. Well, we can be the alternative to Westminster, and that's why we need to really be picking up on this sentiment that people are looking for something different, and we can offer them something positive and something that they can really get behind, especially in places like Swansea, in places like the South Wales Valleys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Reform is basically another Westminster party which will put Westminster first. And also all the leaders were there clapping like circus seals when Thatcher was privatising everything. So, they're literally part of the problem when Thatcher privatised steel in the 1980s. I remember the marches against that when she privatised, water and electricity and all, literally the shit we have in the water because of that, it's all down in, like Nigel Farage was loving it. The man who said Truss's disastrous budget, which sucked 20 billion from the UK economy, he said it was the best budget since 1986. So, they're the total Thatcherites. And the problem for Wales, which is a manufacturing country, is that Thatcher, for purely political reasons, gutted that out. And Farage and Tice supported it 100%. They loved it because they thought it was a way of getting back against the what they thought was the lazy manufacturing people, as they thought at the time. So they're part of the problem. They're not part of any answer. Sam, sorry, you carry on.
Oh, well, I was just going to say that point of manufacturing, you don't have to look a million miles away from where I am right now. You just have to go a little bit across the water to Port Talbot.
Yeah.
And, that war on manufacturing and that neglect of a very important industry that could have been supported. And probably would have been. It would have been the responsibility of an independent country. For my mind, there's no way an independent Wales would have let the Talbot Steelworks close down.
And the steelworks has been invested in Belgium, which is a small country. Exactly, you're absolutely right. If Westminster won't support Port Talbot, what is the point of Westminster? I had family working in Margam. My dad's family all moved over to Llansamlet because of Margam. So if they're not going to fight for Margam, what is the point of Westminster? The one line we've been fed since we were born, and before then, Westminster was sort of big enough to look after stuff. It hasn't bothered, and it won't. So I mean, I said, independent Wales would absolutely no way allow an industry which is so important economically, in terms of the GDP and everything, just to collapse. There's absolutely zero. There's no way you would do that. Because it'd be such an important part of the economy. It's as if London decided to just ditch the city of London. It's that kind of size. But this is what happens when you believe the myth of Westminster and believe the myth of Britishness. You sort of think, oh, they know what to do, and they don't. Westminster is a con. They're no better than any politician anywhere. There's no better caliber of politician there than we have in Cardiff. You can argue that both aren't very good or whatever, but they're no better. No, it's just a damn indictment.
Who are they working for as well? Who are they working for? They're not working for us.
The important thing is to keep, and that's the thing with the Crown Estate, the important thing is to keep the slippery slope for the career in Westminster. And making a fuss about Wales doesn't win you a career in Westminster. And most people vote for Westminster parties, you're going to get second best. It's at best you can get is a branch manager. And that's why we're poor. We're poor because of Westminster. Right, Sam, we could discuss this for a while. This is exactly the kind of conversation people could have at the Nabod Cymru, Knowing Cymru event in Swansea on the weekend of Friday 28th, Saturday 29th of March. Loads of fab discussions, fun, chance to meet people, get off social media, meet people in the flesh, have a pint with them, have a drink with them, a coffee, and discuss independence and make sure the movement is getting those roots down deep, because, people, it's all kicking off politically. We have no idea what will happen in 5 years. So our job in YesCymru is to make the argument for independent Wales with a smile, with the facts, with respect for people, because the argument is being made daily, and in my point of view, is me showing the importance of it. But sometime in the near future, I think this is going to become a massive thing, and we need to be ready for that. Right, Sam Murphy from YesCymru Abertawe, thanks again. Your second visit to the Radio YesCymru podcast. I'm sure you'll be on sometime again in the future. Always great to speak to you. For the meantime, in any case, remember the Nabod Cymru event, 28th and 29th of March, down in Swansea, various events. It'll probably be up on the YesCymru website as well. But until then, thanks for listening to Radio YesCymru from me, Sean Jobbins, and from Sam Murphy. Diolch.
Diolch yn fawr, Sean.
Croeso.